Welcome to my channel. This video is dedicated to a quick guide to creating a pet flashlight. Here you will not find complex scripts or more details, but only simple mechanics and elementary configuration of components. This guide demonstrates how easy it is to do something unusual and interesting. Even if you have never worked with the editor Miliastra Sandbox before, or you are taking the first steps in learning it. Pets from the world of Genshin Impact. This is a simple, interesting mechanic. This is incredibly elementary in the creation, and it may well be. You will be inspired by such simple things by inventing something of your own. After loading the file into your editor, you'll have 3 prefabs at your disposal. The first is a small flashlight, which the character holds in his hand. A large flashlight on a platform that flies behind a character. And an empty platform. It does not participate in the operation of the flashlight. I am an additional prefab. The first thing I want to draw your attention to is the animation of swinging at the flashlight platform. In this flashlight, the swing animation works on the basis of the status of the object, with the status, or rather on the basis of squirrels. This object has animations that can be used to save resources and time. How does it work? Everything is quite simple here. Now, I will remove all the details, and the squirrel itself will be in the center. This squirrel has a tail swing animation. It is what creates the flashlight platform swing animation. Demonstrate how to repeat it. To begin with, take a tighter squirrel, but you can take any object with animation that is with status, and the object must have fixation points for these animations. If the object with the status has no fixation points, you will not be able to assign your details to its animation. This squirrel has several points for fixing status animations. There are points that are responsible for the ears and tail. If you activate the display of points, you can see their movement. This means that we can attach your object on top of the object with status by taking any animation. For example, take a large candy and add it as a decor to the protein object. Then remember that the animation we need goes at number 2 and attach the desired decor as part of the object to a new point. In the same way, the rocking system is implemented at the flashlight platform. Let's move on to the components of the flying lantern. From the components we have installed, custom variables, VFX effects, light, follow, motion mechanism, and a tab. The tab will allow us to launch our flying lantern, thereby attaching it to the character. The follow motion mechanism is set to move at a certain speed, which will allow the flashlight to smoothly reach the character. The movement speed is set to 1, but you can increase it a little by setting it to 2 or 3, thereby making the moment the flashlight attaches to the character faster. Our acceleration and delay are set to 0, and the radius of reaching the target is 0.1. The target radius affects the smoothness of the animation, so in our case, using a large value of 1 is not recommended. The flashlight won't have time to reach the shoulder and will register the end. Afterwards, it instantly teleports to the fixation point, making the animation jagged. Next, the light component. The flashlight has a light source around it. Pay attention to the radius. If you want to use the flashlight in multiplayer, you'll need to increase the light radius. In the VFX effects component, you will find an effect that is not visible, but it is actually a fairly simple way to create a looping voiceover. Yes, there is a sound component, but that doesn't change the fact that you can create sound without it. The effect itself is scaled down and practically invisible, but its sound is enabled. The custom variables component contains two variables. One is the skill configuration ID, the other is the small flashlight prefab ID. We can find the skill itself in the skills category. The main script, which is where the flashlight's main operation process takes place, is attached to the Node Diagram tab. Let's move on to the script editor. The main circuit diagram of the flashlight nodes, which is assigned to the flying flashlight, is now open. The process starts with you clicking on the tab when you encounter a flashlight in the world. Next, we disable the tab so that it cannot be clicked again, and we need to hide the tab activation message. The small GUID essence node is easy to use, can be moved around, and allows you to customize other nodes without getting confused. Although the essence of the flashlight can be obtained from the first node that records the activation of the tab. After activating the tab and deactivating it, go to the node that activates the follow motion component. Note that this node is more expanded than the others. This node interacts directly with the follow motion component and takes its settings from the component first. Next, we connect the target to the entity itself. The flashlight itself should move, and it should follow the character. We take the character from the tab node, the one who clicked on the tab. We also have a fixation point. What is that, and what is it for? All objects have points. In our case, it's the character's point. Go to Character, Player, and Class Settings. Click the Edit Character tab. Next, click the Fix Points component. We'll turn off the display of unnecessary points and leave only the one we need. As a result, we can see that our point is on the shoulder. This is the point that will be assigned to the flashlights. The point name can be easily copied and moved to node diagrams. A little lower, we see the coordinate adjustment. Since the fixation point is right on the shoulder, we need to gently adjust the flashlight's position slightly. So we move it slightly to the right and back a bit. This is what's entered into the coordinates. After fixing the path of the flying lantern, we move on to creating a prefab. Previously, we entered the small flashlight prefab ID into the custom variables, and now we create this flashlight. A configurable variable also requires a connection to the entity from which it will be retrieved. We're connecting the own entity responsible for the flying lantern to our own entity node. If you are having trouble connecting a variable to the prefab creation node, or it is not working, check that the variable setting in the node is set to the prefab ID value. And this setting is also in the variables. The small lantern has a follow movement component with instant movement to the desired location, so there is no need to specify where to create the prefab. It will be created at 0 coordinates, where an icon like this usually appears. Now we need to save the created flashlight. To do this, we'll use node schema variables. We'll use the node to save the variable. Look, we've created a flashlight from a custom variable called flashlight, and now we're saving the flashlight's entity, which is called flashlight. To avoid confusion, a prefab is a template. To avoid confusion, a prefab is a template. The variable we're setting is actually in the template, although it could be an entity. And the essence of the object that we created from the template is written into a variable in the script sheet, so we can use the same names. Pay close attention to the fact that when saving an entity, we take this entity from the prefab creation node and write it to the entity saving node. Now it's time to attach the follower to the small lantern. We'll take the target from the prefab creation node. Since the prefab was just created, so the script still remembers the entity. For this purpose, we connect a small flashlight to the target. After connecting the lines, the target is a small flashlight. We need to connect someone, it will follow. We again take this target from the tab node, the very first one in the script, the whoever CLI. Next, we need to set the point where the flashlight will be. It's not difficult. We've already done this, but this time, it's a different point. Just repeat the path. Now we'll use a dot on the character's hand. As soon as the character extends their hand, a small light will appear underneath it. Look, earlier, we adjusted the position of the flashlight in the tracking unit so that it sat not directly on the shoulder, but a little to the side. But now we need to adjust not the position, but the rotation. First, minus 90 degrees, this is the rotation. Because if the character extends his arm forward, the flashlight will be upside down. So we are. The second 180-degree rotation is to make the flashlight shine forward, not backward. I want to point out right away that these settings are individual, depending on how you created the prefab. The next step is to connect the skill activation node. This node activates the skill, which causes a small flashlight to appear. The target in this node is the character who selected the tab. We'll connect them as the primary entity. This determines who will receive the skill. The skill point is connected to the custom variable I showed at the beginning. It stores the skill configuration ID. As a reminder, the variable is located in the Flying Lantern prefab component. The variable's numeric value is the skill configuration ID. This ID can be found and copied under the skill itself. After connecting the target entity and skill ID, select where it will be installed. In my case, it's the Q key. After that, we complete the line by connecting a node that will hide and make invisible our little flashlight. It should only be visible in your hand during the skill. This completes the first part of the script. The second part begins with the signal. Next, the signal's meaning is determined. The essence of our little flashlight that we created and saved earlier. Let's go back a bit. I mentioned a signal. What is that? A signal is a request with a response. In this case, the script contains a node that receives the signal and waits for it to appear. Signals are configured in a separate window. This window contains the signal and the parameter that goes with it. In our case, the activation parameter and the numerical value, 1 or 2. After receiving the signal and determining whether it was 1 or 2, the appropriate action is performed. If the signal is 1, the small flashlight appears and its light turns on. The small flashlight has two types of light in its component, a light around the flashlight and a spotlight type light that shines forward. They are off by default and only turn on when the skill is applied. In addition to turning on the small flashlight, the flying flashlight model is hidden to keep it out of the way. But if the value 2 comes through the signal, the small flashlight becomes invisible, its light goes out, and the flying flashlight appears. Please note that since the node diagram is tied to the flying lantern, all actions in the nodes that affect it are connected to the own entity, in other words, to the flying lantern. And for the small flashlight, the nodes take the entity from the node map variable. Now about the signal, or more precisely, where it comes from. For that, let's go to the skill node diagrams. We have two small circuits that send signals, one to turn the flashlight on and one to turn it off. Value 1 is responsible for switching on, value 2 is responsible for switching off. Finding these parameters is easy. Let's move on to skills. Next comes the skill animation, and we have two lines, event start and event end. At the start, we connect the skill node circuit to send signal 1, and at the end, we send signal 2. It turns out that as soon as the character in the animation activates the beginning of the animation, our little flashlight appears. As soon as the animation is interrupted or completed, the flashlight. In this guide, I did not touch on the issue of creating skills, since the very fact of creation is present in many other guides. Moreover, you can easily create an example of this skill based on the templates available in the editor. This is not to mention that you can easily understand how the skill works from the example after you load the game file into your editor. To summarize, using the material in this short guide, you can create any kind of pit-tumph, whether mechanical or living. If you replace all the objects with effects, you can create something different, like a will-o'-the-wisp from the forest. Your only limitation is your imagination. I remind you that I answer questions about all my assets and games. Just write to me on Discord. My nickname is TM. You can download the flashlight pet file or just see how it works by finding the game. I'll include the GUID for all servers in the video description. The name you see on the screen is the same on all servers. Just find the game and click the download button at the top. Or you can go to the Resource Center and download the flashlight there. Thanks for watching this video. Visit my Resource Center page for lots of interesting information. My Hoyolab page has other guides. You'll find links in the description. If you contact me, I can help you clarify some details.